I referenced what our Prime Minister said to JD Vance around free speech. We're very proud of free speech in the
cuts. They might also be asking, we're about to put billions of extra into this war, and is it time to consider whether President Trump has a...
Councils have had the biggest amount of increase, a real cash terms increase of around 7% from this government, recognising the austerity that the previous government gave them. Pensioners are better off than they were under the Tories because of inflation was at 11.2% at one point, which of course...
The UK's role in Ukraine has sparked debate. Angela Rayner recently faced tough questions about the financial support for Ukraine, but her vague responses left many feeling she lacked the substance expected from a senior leader.
Focus, we won't be blindsided or bounced from the focus of getting peace for Ukraine with those security guarantees. The Prime Minister also set out where we've stepped up in terms of our military aid with missiles, with the seizing of Russian assets and using that money towards support for Ukraine, and the $3 billion a year that we continue to give Ukraine for support.
Adding to the controversy, former President Donald Trump claimed he could bring peace to Ukraine, insisting that Zelensky doesn't want peace. Meanwhile, Rayner and the Labour Party have stood by Ukraine, supporting Zelensky's position, though some view this as fueling unnecessary tensions.
Your country is in big trouble.
I know.
You're not winning. You're not winning this. You have a damn good chance of coming out okay because of us.
Mr. President, we are staying in our country, staying strong from the very beginning of the war. We've been alone, and we are thankful. I said thanks
you haven't
in
been
this
alone.
cabinet,
you
and
haven't
not
been
only
alone.
in this cabinet.
We gave you, through this stupid president, $350 billion.
You voted
we gave
for
you
your
military equipment, and you men are brave, but they had to use our military.
What about West
If you didn't have our military equipment,
if
you didn't have our military equipment, this war would have been over in 2 weeks.
This raises a crucial question. How much longer can the UK send billions abroad while facing serious issues at home? Angela Rayner made a rare point many supported, saying, "The most important job for any government is to keep its citizens safe." She questioned why the UK invests so much in a distant war while serious threats loom at home.
GB News can reveal that 2,000 migrants have crossed the English Channel in just over a week, half of this year's total so far.
Now, that number does account for half of the total number of migrants who have crossed across from France since the start of the year, with 240 crossing in the 9th consecutive day yesterday.
Well, among those who have arrived is a Palestinian man with alleged extremist links, with reports of him sharing anti-Israel and anti-Jewish hate messages online.
Rayner highlighted the growing crisis of illegal immigration across the English Channel, with thousands arriving daily and public frustration mounting. She questioned how much more the UK can take before reaching its breaking point. By shifting the focus from Russia to urgent domestic issues, Rayner argued that the unchecked migration crisis is the real immediate threat, calling out the government's misplaced priorities.
And the Prime Minister wants to be an honest broker, working with the US and European allies in Ukraine to bring about that peace that everybody says they want.
But what's your judgment on what the President has done, temporarily calling a halt to the billions in aid that America gives Ukraine?
Well, look, that's a matter for the US President, but what Keir outlined yesterday, the Prime Minister, was that we won't be sidetracked by that. We will be an honest broker, working with the US, working with our European allies, and, importantly, supporting Ukraine to get that peace and to make sure that that peace is also backed up by...
The fallout from Angela Rayner's interview was swift and brutal. Social media erupted, with many slamming her as evasive and out of touch with ordinary people's struggles. Critics argue that both Rayner and Keir Starmer seem disconnected from the UK's real issues, like the immigration crisis and public frustration. Rayner's shaky responses only fueled concerns that Labour's leadership doesn't understand the nation's priorities. Labour's focus on the Russia-Ukraine conflict has sparked outrage. As millions flow into Ukraine's defence, many question why the UK prioritizes foreign affairs while the NHS funding crisis and economic recovery are ignored. Rayner stirred even more anger by claiming pensioners were better off under Labour, a statement widely seen as misleading, given the Tories' increase in winter allowances. For many, her words felt painfully out of touch. Meanwhile, the UK faces a surge of young male migrants, now outnumbering the nation's military. This raises serious fears over national security and economic stability. As frustration mounts, the public demands leaders who prioritize the safety and well-being of UK citizens before it's too late.